Hello, welcome to Barking. No, not that sort of barking. This is the brand new Barking Riverside station, opened in July 2022 and in operation the ultra-modern Class 710 Aventra units. That is now, but back in the 1980s the Barking to Gospel Oak line was unreliable and unloved and in the hands of elderly DMU stock, such as this Network Southeast liveried Class 121. Silverlink took over operation of the line under privatisation and there were some minor improvements to the stations. The introduction of the Class 150 Sprinters improved reliability considerably. The new Class 172s provided a further boost to the line in 2010, but the two-car units ultimately couldn't cope with the increased demands of the London overground network. And so with electrification in 2018 and then the new Class 710s from 2019, Barking to Gospel Oak is completely unrecognisable from the old days of British Rail. And with the release of this DLC from Dovetail Games on Trainsim World 4, it's time for my very first look at what promises to be a terrific recreation. Barking Riverside in East London to Gospel Oak in North London. 13 miles and 13 stations. Let's get ready to roll. It's fantastic to see such a new station. It was opened during that heat wave in the summer of 2022 in July, and you can see on the near side the construction works going on. Of course, it's very much an area in development. So before we get going, let's have a look at the station and you'll see how well it's represented. And it's good to see all this level of detail put in. The usual display boards up there. We've even got somebody in the ticket office, although he doesn't look too interested in serving tickets. Should be able to pass through these easily enough. And we do have a choice here. We can actually go up the steps or via working lifts. Such a modern looking station, and it's good to see the amount of people that are represented. It feels like London in the rush hour. So we've seen the way up through the stairs. What about if you fancy going up on the lift? Okay.
Doors closing.
You'll see we really will move up.
First floor. Doors open. Lift going down.
So let's get in the cab and let's get the thing on the road. Very futuristic looking cab.
TPWS and AWS operational.
And we do have self-closing doors. we said that it moves away pretty fast, but then you would expect that with a brand new train, or at least a train that's been in use since 2018. I was watching a video earlier on of a real train, and they certainly are very noisy over the point, so I think that's quite nicely represented. Heavily under developments in this area. The only thing I'm not 100% sure on, I like the sounds that have come with it, but I don't know if they're 100% authentic. I'm quite sure that the train sim community will produce a mod at some point which will absolutely nail it, but these are all right for now. Can do freight services from Ripple Lane Depot. Now I have to say, it's this section here and leading up to Barking and a little bit beyond that I do find a little bit disappointing, because there are no C2C services, and that feels like a really missed opportunity. I mean, there are certainly 720s which are very similar to this unit, and already I've seen on the Creators Club that somebody has done a representation using this 710, but it would have been nice to have had them layered into the timetable, and we could have had those C2C services. Again, it'd be good to see somebody put that in at a later date. I don't think I'm capable of building a timetable, but perhaps I could do a scenario with the C2C services represented. Incidentally, first question of the day really, what's C2C? And the answer is, it doesn't really mean anything. It's suggested by some it's city to coast, or coast to city, or capital to coast, but there isn't actually an official definition. It's left very much out to interpretation. Absolutely love the rumbling sounds over the points, and we're already coming into our first stop of Barking. And okay, there's obviously no tube trains represented here, because you'd need the S8 underground stop for the district line, or the F7, but it feels absolutely beautifully done, the station. I've missed my marker already. Look at absolutely amazing detail of the station. And also they managed to give you a little bit of grime as well. It doesn't look absolutely pristine. And of course this is an official TfL product as well, so you've got all sorts of underground, overground logos. I think this platform over here is where the old Barking to Gospel Oak services used to start from. Still can't get over how good that looks though. After the preview was done by Dovetail Games a week or so back as well on the YouTube video, there was a comment by a real driver of these units, and he said the thing to do was to coast away in the first couple of notches to get up to 5 miles an hour, and then after that then you're absolutely fine to go into full power. Absolutely blown away by the detail though. The catenary and the general scenery is lovely. And I know I've heard one or two people say, well, it looks really good unless you really know the route, but I think you have to be a little bit of a nitpicker not to think that this is good looking. I've set the time of the year as though this is now, so springtime. They're quite short platforms on this Goblin line. You can see the marker coming up on the left, so we'll try and get this a bit better. Now what you're aiming to do is to get it in that little triangle there, so not quite right, but a bit better than last time. And apart from the lack of traffic at Barking, the only other criticism really is the people. As you can see, we had some very strange dancing around trying to get on the train. They just haven't quite got it right just yet, have they? that's one thing that could do with a massive upgrade, because it's a shame. It spoils the detail a little bit. I mean, it's quite amusing to watch, don't get me wrong. You can see there, quite detailed. And they've made an effort as well to make sure that people are sitting quite differently and not all in a line. The only slight thing is you would expect to see a few people standing. That's not been... Perhaps that just isn't achievable at this moment. Let's get back in the cab. We don't want to shut ourselves out. Yes, trying to remember not to back it straight into full power. There's little sections of this route that have been electrified for a very long time, and you can kind of tell the difference between the really old catenary and the new. Never greatly excited by doing the run from Barking to Gospel Oak on the old Train Sim Classic route, but this adds a whole new level of excitement, I have to say. Yep, a few more passengers jogging about on the spot there. We're slightly better. Still gone on a little bit, I think. See, unfortunately, there's like so many people, they're just getting in the way of each other. But I love the detail in and around with the buildings, the infrastructure, the car parks, just everything about it just is nicely done. And you can see even the roads down there pretty busy. Everything about this is quite futuristic. It's well designed as well, because you've got a really good view out of the cab. Stone High Road is our next stop. Apart from that section, really, from Barking Riverside to Barking, stations come up pretty thick and fast. And it's an every 15-minute service as well, so it's regular. It's good to see, like, passing over the road there, and you can see plenty of traffic. Just got a bit of life about it. Nothing sterile about this route at all. Okay, well we've failed the test there, I think it's fair to say. I think you wouldn't be very happy there, would you? You'd be saying, why am I being let out in the wilderness? Leighton Midland Road is next. Very grandstanding stations on this journey. Remember the error of the last stop. Ah, perfect. That's what we're aiming for. So that's the idea, right in the middle of that little triangle there. What do you call it? Quarter light, isn't it? Good to see we've got quite a variety of passengers as well, with all sorts of different wear, and the idea is that the clothes that they're wearing should be appropriate for the time of the year a little bit. very smooth to drive, I have to say. It really is my first go at this as well, so I'm going to excuse myself for not being absolutely perfect. Hopefully that will improve over time, sure it will. Builder's yard going on down there. Stone Queen's Road is next. Absolutely loving the attention to detail on the overhead catenary though, and again it doesn't look pristine. There's a little bit of rustiness as well in places. Slightly overdone that. No, well, we'll take that one. That's pretty decent. We've got rubbish in the bins there, look. These are essentially the same units that are operated out of London Euston on the Watford DC lines to Watford Junction. And it is possible, with a little bit of tinkering, to do a run on the Bakerloo line from Queen's Park to Harrow and Wealdstone. It'd be nice if they could integrate that properly into the timetable. Again, wouldn't be massively surprised if somebody comes along and does that. That would massively improve that add-on. I think we're only a week away from the 5 Circle line route coming out as well for Train Sim World 4. It's been an incredible period. I mean, it's only a week tomorrow since the Buxton line came out. That's not too bad, I suppose. Again, just to show you nicely expected. Again, for
Doors open.
disabled
Lift going
passengers, we can
down. Doors closing.
use the lift. Well, for anybody that's less ably bodied, I think it would be appropriate to say. Wheelchair users as well as push chairs, or if you're just not capable of going up those stairs properly, or if you have a lot of luggage on you as well. So South Tottenham, the next stop. And we do have to be mindful we have a 20-mile-an-hour speed restriction coming up. We could almost be in the middle of the countryside. I was just a bit too quick to speed away then. We're still on 20. Actually, it's quite a long section of 20 actually when you look at the details on the top right. To 45 now. And we're showing off some of the detail in and around. We're running rather late on this service. Yes, we'll have that one as well. The other thing the overground driver was saying as well is that you should be in at least step 2 for the brakes at the stop. right, I was wondering if there are bits you can actually change there. Not totally sure. So Haringey, Green Lanes. Now, I can't remember 100% whether the East Coast Main Line is before or after the station, but there is a section where we have the East Coast Main Line going over, and all the services are represented by that. So you could see a Thameslink 700 going over, or you could see an Azuma on an LNER service. Ridden on this route in real life once, and I've got a suspicion it was before the electric trains were ridden. I'm pretty sure I've not been on one of these on this route. Oh, we've got quite a number of passengers waiting here. Be overly impressed about the service being held up by poor driving.
Unattended on the station. Luggage left unattended may be removed without warning or destroyed or damaged on.
Needless to say, it's actually showing up that this service is running late. Getting towards the end of the journey. Crouch Hill is our next stop, then it's Upper Holloway, and then Journey's End at Gospel Oak, and we'll meet up there, of course, with the North London line. And although there's only a short section of the line created on the game, at least you do get 710s actually operating on services there. Here's the aforementioned East Coast Main Line. Ah, and there's an Azuma going over. Oh, and a Thameslink train as well. That was good timing. And it's perfectly possible to position yourself on foot and watch all the trains go by. Good to see the graffiti as well. And I'm not suggesting it's good in real life that there's people that have gained access to the line and done the graffiti, but there is plenty of graffiti about on the railway network, so it feels like real life. Let's have a little glance about. Again, even there, the detail on the gates. You've got the proper maps. There's no lift on this station. Car drivers are very polite on this game. If you stand in the way, they just stop in front of you. Picked up another collectible. Our passengers would be pleased if I can get back on board and drive the train. Talking about driving this on the Bakerloo line, of course it's worth pointing out that we're in AC mode at the moment. The pantograph's up, but you can drive it with the shoes down into third rail mode as well. The only thing you won't find is the AWS on the Bakerloo line. It wasn't built with that in mind. You can ride it on the other third rail route, so you could take it out to Faversham, drive it on the southeastern, or have a go on the London commuter on the Brighton route, Victoria, or if you really fancy being a bit offbeat, then perhaps you could take it to Eastbourne from Brighton. I did enjoy the Manchester Piccadilly to Hadfield and Glossop line when it came out, and that's very nicely done, but this is very, very prototypical in terms of the overground and this sort of East London to North London route. This wins it in terms of detail.
gap.
Okay, now we still got plenty on board. We have. That's another good point as well, because I've seen routes where halfway through the route the train is more or less empty. So we've got some patient passengers. And then we've got our final destination of Gospel Oak shortly. Now I know there's been a bit of comment about this signal box at Upper Holloway. It's nothing like that in real life, so that would be nice if they could get that sorted out. It's a little bit less glamorous than that. Well, it's been more than a delight. I've enjoyed every second of this run. And hats off to all involved at Dovetail Games for creating this fabulous route again. As I said, I'd love to see a bit of an upgrade in terms of the passengers, try and get them to behave a little less comically. It's fun to watch though. Be interesting to see what mods come out in the community. It'd be nice if we could see some representation of the C2C lines around Barking. It'd be nice if we could get another overground route represented in the future as well. So we are coming into terminus platform at Gospel Oak. I think before we leave, we'll just have a little look around the station as well. That should do us. And I assume that everybody should have got off here. Quite disappointing. Oh, slightly bizarre. Why are you waiting? spoils the realism slightly, I must say. Anyway, let's just remember whilst we're here to get the headlights into the off position, the tail lights we should put to on. Actually, let's just sit back in the seat again. I don't know what secure means. We'll assume that's kind of off. We'll take the master key out. The good thing about Train Sim World is that another driver will take over and do the return service. Now this is nice to see. Sadly, I don't think there's any seats available, but if you fancy coffee, what do I fancy? I'll have a regular latte, I think. Plenty of sandwiches on offer too. There's a Class 7 ton on the North London line. Of course, that connects between Richmond and Stratford, as well as Clapham Junction. And incidentally, if you think that this is a work of fiction, this cafe, it literally is there, and it's not dissimilar to that. And there are, I think there's one table, they're not wooden like that, but it's still nicely represented. Again, just the lovely detail on the corridor, the grime, the graffiti, the mirror there as well. They've got another man who dispenses tickets who likes looking at his phone. Ticket machines, can buy tickets from here. That for detail as well. Lovely decor. Okay, so I think we'll end it just there then. What a fabulous run. Really enjoyed that first look at the Barking Riverside to Gospel Oak DLC. I'm sure there'll be many more runs on that. I can highly recommend it. I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of other YouTube videos as well looking at this particular add-on, but fabulous. And we've got plenty more to come with the likes of the 5 Circle line coming up and plenty of Train Sim Classic. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you've liked it, then if you don't mind liking it and subscribing it, I'd be really, really grateful, and thank you very much for anybody that does that. But until next time, I'm Powerflower, Trains and Planes. Until the next time, goodbye.